the basics. We both know what we want, let's just keep it simple. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. We dance on the same wavelength. This feels like a new beginning. We both know what we want, let's just keep it simple. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So won't you let me trip, trip, trip with you? Leading and follow, leave us till tomorrow. So won't you let me trip, trip, trip with you? Leading and follow, leave us till tomorrow. So won't you let me? So won't you let me? So won't you let me? I dream that if I could hold you close, you could be my antidote. Let me run away through the night. Let us leave the world behind. Give in, keep yourself thinking. Tonight, let go and start dreaming. I was feeling down low, you just brought me straight up. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh, we're higher than the ceiling. I feel everything is spinning. I was feeling down low, you just brought me straight up. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So won't you let me trip, trip, trip with you? Leading and follow, leave us till tomorrow. So won't you let me trip, trip, trip with you? Leading and follow, leave us till tomorrow. So won't you let me? 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 There's no need to complicate things. Let's stick to the basics. We both know what we want, let's just keep it simple. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. We dance on the same wavelength. This feels like a new beginning. We both know what we want, let's just keep it simple. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So won't you let me trip, trip, trip with you? Leading and follow, leave us till tomorrow. So won't you let me trip, trip, trip with you? Leading and follow, leave us till tomorrow. So won't you let me? So won't you let me? So won't you let me?
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of AJAWI TV, where we discuss architecture and construction related topics. I'm your host, I'm AJAWI, and for today I have a few things lined up for you. You guys have been asking about certain things as it relates to land matters. Now, I'm not the best person to speak to as it relates to land acquisition and stuff like that. So I put out a poll for you guys so that you guys can let me know what are the questions that you would like to ask a lawyer. And we did a poll, right? The answers that came back were quite interesting, right? So we decided that we are going to touch base with a lawyer, right, and have her come and answer these questions for us. It's somebody that I know. As I said, I always try to put you in touch with the right person for the right service, right, so that at the end of the day you benefit, right? You benefit overall. So thank you for joining us today. If you're just joining, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you can be notified whenever I make videos just like this one. Now, the lawyer that I will be bringing in today is Miss Davis. That's Thierry E. Davis, attorney at law, right? And we'll be asking her 3 questions. It's 5 minutes. We have 3 questions within that period of time, and we just want to get it going, right? We're getting it going. And today is Sunday, guys. So as usual, I'll just be holding a little line with you guys and just, build with you, right? Build with you. So let me just touch back base with her. Oh, she's here. So I'll bring her on now, right? Hi, Miss Davis. How are you?
Hi, I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. And I want to say thank you for having me. Thank you for being here with me. And I really appreciate it. All right. And
thank you for having me on.
And I just want to have the AJAWI family big you up. So can you give them your contact information before we get into anything? Just introduce yourself, introduce your business, and so that if anything, they can always touch base with you.
All right. My name is Thierry, T-U-E-R-E, Thierry Davis, D-A-V-I-S. And I have offices in Kingston and Montego Bay. The Kingston address is at number 3 West Arcadia Avenue, and that's in Kingston 5. That's off Halfway Tree Road, right behind Appliance Traders Limited. And the Montego Bay office is on a mall called Bisco Mall, and that is 6 to 8 Union Street in Montego Bay in St. James.
Okay. And guys, if you have any further questions other than these, you can always reach out to her, book an appointment with her, and get going as it relates to your land matters. So Miss Thierry, 60. So we put out a poll, right? And 67% of the people that asked questions or voted for a question. It was, how do I acquire property that my parents died and left behind if they never left a will? Ms. Davis? Guys, we're just waiting on her. It looks like she probably dropped off.
Are you hearing me?
Oh, we're hearing you now.
Okay,
yes.
Good. I'm saying that's a very common issue in Jamaica because unfortunately not a lot of people make that step of making a will. But there are practical solutions to the issue. So if it is that you are occupying a piece of land that your parents or some other family member have passed and left and there is no will, there is a process that is called obtaining what is called letters of administration that you will have to pursue in order to get that piece of land. Now, the law sets out who can access the property. So, if for example, a man died and left his wife and children, and there's no will, the law sets out the line of succession. So the first person in priority is the wife or the spouse, and then after that you have the children. So the first person that can apply, if there's a spouse, is a spouse. The spouse can apply for the letters of administration. And then if it is that the person who died has children, half of the property goes to the wife, or half of whatever assets he has goes to the wife, and the other half is divided among the children. But the person who takes out the letters of administration, if there is a spouse and children, first person in priority is the spouse. If it is that the spouse doesn't want to take out the letters of administration, then the children can. But they'd have to obtain permission from the person above them, which is the spouse. Right, and the process is a little bit complicated. So it is advisable that you speak with a lawyer to get a lawyer to guide you through the process in terms of how to take out the letters of administration.
Nice, and that's why they can always, reach out to you and stuff like that. The other question that we had was, how do we will property to someone, or like how do we prepare our will so that we can hand it over to our kids? Okay,
so it is advisable that once somebody comes into property, and that property could be real estate or it could be personal items, a car, for example. Once somebody has obtained property, it is advisable for them to make a will. And unfortunately, it's not only old people die, people of all ages die. So when you make a will, it's not like you're calling down death on you, but it is an excellent step to ensure that your wishes in terms of who you want your property to go to in the event that when you pass is carried out. Now, a will, there are certain steps, and I just make sure to write them down to ensure that I don't miss out any of the steps. When you're making a will, it must be in writing. So it could be typewritten, it could be written in pen ink, but it has to be in writing. So you cannot have a verbal will. It has to be in writing. Now the person who is making the will has to have legal and mental capacity. So that person, some people, unfortunately, they only think about it when they're getting sick. For example, illnesses like Alzheimer's. A person who has Alzheimer's cannot make a will. So that is why it is critical that you make the will when you are in good mental capacity, and you must be over 18 in order to make a will. So you must have mental and legal capacity. You must identify the assets that you want to give away. So if it is the land, you must state very clearly where the land is located. If it is that there's title to the land, you must say what is the volume and the folio number. If it is that you have a car that you want to bequeath to someone, then you must make sure that you identify the car properly. So you cannot just give my car. You must identify the car. If it's a 1990 Honda, you must be very careful and very detailed in how you describe the property that you want to give away. Now, when you're making the will, the person making the will has to sign the will.
Okay.
And the person making the will has to sign at the foot of the will, at the end of the will, and you must sign the will in the presence of at least 2 witnesses. Now, those 2 witnesses must be present at the same time and must witness your signature. So they must see
Okay.
that you're signing the document. No, a testator is the person who is making the will. A testator can actually have someone sign on his behalf. For example, if the testator is blind or is not able to write at the moment, someone can sign on the testator's behalf, but that person has to do so in the presence of the testator. And the
Okay.
testator have to guide him or give him direction in terms of signing it. If it is that the person is illiterate, then they can make an X, but you have to ensure that the will is read over to the person, and he has to say that he understands, he or she has to say that he understands the contents of it, and then they can make the X and have the witnesses sign. Now, if it is that you make any corrections, for example, if you put a line through a word, the testator has to sign in the margin to ensure that they know that it is the testator that did that crossing out. Okay?
Okay.
Now, the will should usually not be witnessed by somebody who is receiving something from the will. Because you know that wills can be challenged. Wills can be challenged in terms of the validity or if it was fraudulently done. So those are things that you want to prevent. So you have to adhere to all of those conditions that I spoke about previously. And it's not that it cannot happen, but usually we do not advise that someone who is receiving something from the will witnesses the will. Then you have to have an executor. An executor is a person who will carry out your wishes, all the wishes that you put in the will. You must ensure that you have at least 2 executors.
Okay.
So if one of the executor passes, then the other one can take it up, or if one of the executor decides that he doesn't want to do it, then the other one can carry out the wishes of the testator. You must have a clause that is called the residuary clause, because sometimes people who are giving away things don't remember that they have something. And this residuary clause is a catch-all clause. So it's a clause at the end of when you set out all the things you want to give and to the persons you want to give them to. This clause states that anything else you have, it should go to this person. So if after you make the will, you come into some new property or some new item, if you decide not to make a new will, then all of that will be taken care of by the residuary clause.
Okay.
All right. So yes, basically those are the conditions that you must adhere to. And as I said before, wills can be challenged, and you don't want to have the issue come up after the testator passes, that you're having people challenging it and then challenging the validity of the will. And if the validity of the will is challenged and is successful, then you have to go through another court process of obtaining letters of administration, and it can be long, drawn out, and very costly. So advisable again that once you want to make the will, you contact an attorney who will guide you through the process and ensure that all the relevant requirements, all the relevant legal requirements are met, so that you have an intact will.
Wow. So there's a lot that has to be considered, and it's always best to really speak with a lawyer.
It is.
Yeah, and that is why I didn't want to advise anybody on that, because I'm not the best person. I myself need a lawyer to sort out my things, right? Um,
Yes, yes.
yeah. So the other question is, how do I make my kids a joint tenant, or make somebody a joint tenant on my property?
All right. So there are two types of tenancy. One is a joint tenancy, and the other is tenancy in common. Joint tenancy, what it means is that if two people own a piece of property as joint tenants, when one person passes, then the land automatically reverts to the other joint tenant. Okay, so that is joint tenancy. The other type of ownership is called tenants in common. However many people own the land, they just own their portion. So, for example, three people own a piece of property, and say they own it 1/3 each. So I have 1/3, you have 1/3, and another person have 1/3. When if I die, my 1/3 does not go to any of the other two people who own the property. My 1/3 can go to whoever. Say, for example, if I say in my will that my 1/3 property should go to my children, then my 1/3 can go to my children. So it doesn't go to the other persons who own the property. You get that?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That
All
one
right.
sounds pretty interesting. Um,
Right.
so
So,
again, go ahead, go ahead.
mhm. So couples, for example, married couples normally own property as joint tenants, because it simply means that if me and my husband own the property together and we own it as joint tenants, if I die, the property goes to my husband. If I own the property as joint tenants with my children, when I pass, the property reverts to the children. The entire portion of the property goes to them.
Oh, okay. So it's, would it be, well, it's another question. If you'd allow me, because I said
Yeah.
three questions. Would
Yes.
it be wise to, like, as from day one, add your children as joint tenants on your title?
I believe so. If it is that I wish for my children to get the property, I wouldn't go the route of a will. I'd
Hmm.
simply do what is called an inter vivos transfer. And an inter vivos transfer is a transfer while you're alive. And
Hmm.
I simply transfer the property from myself back to myself and my children, and we all own it as joint
Together.
tenants.
Oh,
And right.
nice.
And so when I pass, it's a simple process. Instead of having to probate a will, it's a simple process where the property will simply go to the children. They will simply have to note the death of one of the joint tenants, and then the title will go fully into their names.
Nice, nice. So again, I want to say thank you for the time. You wanna give your number so that, if anybody wants to contact you, they can go ahead, and the
All
email
right.
address.
Right. So my office numbers 616-8381, 620-8130, and we can also be contacted on cell number 431-4572, and the office email address is TUREDAVIS, Thury Davis legal, legal @gmail.com.
Okay, thank you for that, Miss Davis, and I really appreciate it. I hope you have a lovely Sunday evening. All right, and the Ajawi family loves you. All right.
All right. Thank you so much for having me, and I hope that what I shared was helpful.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, you heard it. You heard it. So again, I always want to give you the relevant information from the right source. All right. And you guys have been asking me a lot about titles and transferring properties and stuff like that, and I must say that I like the way that you're thinking. I like generational wealth, and I like to know that you're planning ahead. The most important part of acquiring wealth is to actually transfer it at the end of the day. um, and what better way to do it or plan for that than now, right? As a technologist, we are directly linked to helping people generate wealth, right? As long as it relates to real estate and actually designing your home and stuff like that, it's all about building wealth, right? So that's what it's all about. All right, so guys, you heard it. You heard it from the lawyer. You heard it from Miss Davis. And if it is that you want your questions to be answered, please always check the channel, leave your comments, make sure say you're commenting below, so that I can know the questions that you want to ask. So if you learned anything about the joint tenancy, I want to ask you this: would you, as of today, consider putting your kids as joint tenants on your property? Comment below yes or no. All right, comment below yes or no. Guys, at this point of the video, I want you to hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell, so that you can be notified whenever I make videos just like this one. And it's Sunday, guys, so it's 12 o'clock or after 12, and I'm gonna be having a snack or a little my Sunday, well, I'm not gonna say dinner, my lunch, Sunday lunch with you guys. All right, and for today I'm having a green plantain, sausage with cabbage. All right, that's what I'm having. All right, let's look in the chat. Chill mom, big up yourself. Chill mom Davis, big up yourself. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You asked a question. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to see that, so I never got it. Remember, it's 3 questions that I get to ask. 5 minutes of the person's time. You have to participate on the channel in order for me to know what questions are supposed to be asked, right? Not a lot of people want to come on camera, so I decided that I'm not going to rely on you guys coming on, because you know sometimes people, wait a say, their computer not working or some unforeseen circumstances. So I rather just ask the questions, you guys answer them, and at the end of the day, you know, I ask them on your behalf. All right, so wealth acquisition and transfer, this is very important, and I believe that a lot of us are not thinking along this line when we're designing and when we are investing. Your home, as I have said in the past, is supposed to be an investment, right? Think of your home as an investment. So in recent times, the Jamaican Prime Minister, right, launched a low-income housing design competition. The competition asked Jamaican residents or people, your regular everyday Jamaican, to submit a design or submit to the design competition low-income housing solutions, right? They're supposed to be 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedrooms, right? In my eyes, it's a great initiative. However, I believe it's kind of putting the carriage before the horse, right? Because it's a more comprehensive thing that you have to think about. So as a country, I believe that we fail to address the most important part, or the most important factor, when it comes on to the housing crisis or the access to housing, right? There are 3 things that I believe that should be addressed if it is that we're going to be thinking about building homes or having access to homes, right? There are 3 things. But 3. We have to address the mindset of the people. We have to look at construction efficiency, And we have to look at the lack of planning that is prevalent within Jamaica or across Jamaica, right? Now, when it comes on to construction, low income houses, they said the cart before the horse. Yeah, you put in the cart before the horse, because normally the horse come before, right? So when it comes down to construction, we have to address efficiency as it relates to construction. That is one of the things that sends up construction costs. The longer you have workmen on a site, the more it costs, the more the construction will cost. When you look at it, the Chinese come here and them build a hospital, or the Chinese, when you look on the Chinese at work, them build a whole entire hospital in a month. And Jamaicans are building or patching a pothole for 3 years. You can't go on like that, right? So we have to start at proper construction management, and that means that you're going to have to engage the right people to do the right thing, right? A lot of us try to cut corners as it relates to our construction. We just get a little man to do a little thing, and at the end of the day, it don't work out, I believe, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. If you have built your house and you just use a little man and it was efficient, it got done within a reasonable time, then you can always tell me. I don't see it happening, right? I don't see it happening. Normally, it's a long drawn out process, and the longer construction takes, the more expensive it is, right? The next thing is building to impress rather than, well, building to impress or compete. That's another mindset that we have to look at, right? You don't need to impress anybody when you're designing your home or when you're constructing your home. You're building your home for you. It should address your needs, wants and needs, not necessarily looking at what somebody else has and you're now trying to build the largest structure just because you want to outshine or want to look like another person, right? You can only sleep in one bedroom. Byron Marshall, big up yourself, big up yourself. Welcome. You're late, man. What's happening? Guys, I want you to remember, you can only sleep in one bedroom, right? You can only cook in one kitchen. You can only use one toilet at a time in your house. I think you as the individual. So having all of these things, the 6-bedroom, 12-bathroom, 6-car garage when you only have one car, build or design within your means, right? It's not that housing is not accessible, it's just that we are not building according to what we can afford or what we should really be investing in, right? Look at it this way. Now, don't get me wrong, if you can afford it, if you can afford the big house, go ahead, by all means, go ahead. Design it, build it, live in it, if you have it. To do that, and that's what you desire, do it, right? I say, better late than never. And I agree. Make sure you hit the like button. Right? It is better, think of it this way. It is better to have multiple houses, multiple small houses in the right community, right? Than have one big house in the wrong community. Think of it that way. So people are trying to buy properties in somewhat areas that I believe is not necessarily good areas, and they're looking to build the largest house them can possibly build and it doesn't make sense because you can't get back the value. All right, you can't get back the value at the end of the day because you're not building smart. You're building because you're just trying to compete with somebody else. Don't do that. Don't do that. It is I believe you should be doing that. You may think that it's okay. Nothing is wrong with that. If you have the money and you want to do it, go ahead. Another aspect is lack of proper planning, right? Most Jamaicans do not plan their home. They don't plan it, right? They do not know what the ideal dollar value house that they want to build. So most Jamaicans, they get up and they say, oh, I want to build a house, and or if you ask somebody, what's your plan for your future? They'll tell you, hey, I want to build a house, or I want to live at X location, or even residents overseas. A lot of times when they call me to do drawings for them, they don't know a dollar value of what it is, what their budget is, and that's not a good thing. That's not a good position to start at. From the get-go, you are supposed to know that dollar value, right? Just make up a dollar value in your head to say, okay, if I was to build my house tomorrow, this is what it's supposed to cost me, or this is what I'm looking to build a house for. And then you can even go online and search for houses, go on houses that are selling, and look at what that dollar value can get you, right? The other aspect is in relation to the conversation a while ago, which is they don't plan for the next generation to pass on that wealth that they have accumulated, right? And what is wealth? Wealth is the accumulation of anything of value, right? Whether it be money, property, let's call it money, property, assets, right? So maybe you have a website that brings in money, kind of like Alibaba or those websites. Maybe but you need to be planning for the next generation. In Jamaica, it's very prevalent. Every single generation that comes along, or each generation must start over from scratch. That's not good. That's not good at all. If you have kids, or your father and mother had you, right? And you come, they left, or their generation passed and they're now gone, right? You're now in the present generation, right? You are not doing anything to plan to say, okay, me have 2 goat round a back, me have 2 dog, me have 1 chicken coop, and me have about 100 layer chicken in there. What's gonna happen when I pass on? Now when your kids come, they now have to start over, and have to start over in the sense that they are now going to have to work for everything, and they don't have a good start, right? They don't have a good start as it relates to wealth. So it's very important to plan that. You don't have to have your kids starting over. I always tell people when they are designing, when they come to me to do drawings for them, what's the end goal? What will happen after? Are you designing it to pass it on to your kids? Because that's what you should be designing it for. Meaning you're designing it for you, for your here and now. But look at it as an investment that you can possibly pass on to your kids. And that will affect the location that you build in, the size of the building, right? And how you go about doing the construction, right? Right? So, you hear the road? Guys, this is what I have to deal with every day. Every day I have to deal with the road like that, right? So, don't have your kids come and they now have to start over from scratch simply because you don't have proper planning in place. Even for the design of your house, make sure you plan it, as in get somebody to actually sit down and go through with you, design everything with you, so that you can move forward instead of being stuck in the same position that you were at, or that your parents were at, or that your great grandparents were at. Right? Think about it that way. Think about it that way, guys. I'm just looking down because I made some notes, and I'm just making sure that I follow my notes. All right, guys. So when you're investing in real estate, I want you to understand this. Or when you're doing your construction or design, know the value of the place that you're investing in. Know it. Go online, go on ask any realtor, what's the price of houses within this area? Right? There's normally a cap. Certain areas you can't expect to get a return on a house over a certain dollar value. Right? And certain areas, it's just not going you're not going to get much in growth in capital as it relates to your property. For example, certain ghetto areas, you can't, I don't understand how some people do it, you know. You have some people that buy a piece of house in a ghetto and they start building this big mansion, right? Investing a lot in it. And at the end of the day, they will not be able to get back that dollar value from the building because of the area. It's like you're tearing up money. Alright? It's as if you're tearing up money. Don't do that. Find out what the area, what is the dollar value for houses within that area, and try to design within that, so that if it comes on to it, you can sell and get back at an interest on your money, or you can get back a return on your money, meaning you get more than you invested in the first place. So if you go in an area and houses within this area is selling for 20 million, right? And you ask your realtor to tell you, okay, what are houses going for in this area? And she say, you know that it is going for between 20 to 25, right? You might say, all right, I'm gonna invest 20 million, right, to build a house in that area. You build a nice little, probably a 2-bedroom for that, right? 2-bedroom, that kind of tight still, but you build a nice little 2-bedroom, you do some nice landscaping and stuff like that in that area, right? And at the end of the day, you decide that, okay, you want to sell. You can possibly sell at the high mark, right? Or even little bit above the high mark. But imagine if you know that within this area, it's $20 million for houses within this area, and you gonna invest $40 million in a house because you know, say, yo, I have the money, I want to live in another area here. And you know, you just went all out and just build $40 million or $100 million. You build a house for. You just tear up money. You could have spent that 20 million and take the 40 million and take the rest of 20 million and go somewhere else and buy another house, right? Or build another house in that particular area. You now have two properties. One you could be renting and the other you could be living in, right? Or you could rent the two of them and then you continue that cycle. Once you pull money from the properties, you buy other properties and the cycle continues to start growing, right? So think about it like that. That's what I believe. All right. Now, when you're looking to do construction or to do a design, before you even do the design for your house, you must have certain things in place before you go to your designer, right? Or it is advised that you have them in place. One, first thing that you need to do and you need to have in place, you must have a land surveyor's report, right? Done within the last 6 months. Your land surveyor will tell you that. It must be done by a commissioned land surveyor, right? There must be a diagram submitted to the surveyor's department. Now that is in the case where there is no title for the property and you're starting from scratch, right? Your family passed on and they didn't leave a will, right? And you're now trying to get that will, get that into your name so that you can then do construction or you can build, right? Trying to get that piece of land in your name. You have to get the property registered with the survey department, right? So the commission land surveyor, speak to one of them, they will do a survey and they will submit a diagram to the survey department. They should establish the boundaries to show you exactly where it is, and they are gonna peg out the property, right? Show you exactly where the established boundaries will be for that piece of property. Now before you go to your designer, you can go ahead and get a topographic survey done, right? Again, it must be done by the commission land surveyor. Also, the benefit of this is that you take advantage of the slope of your land. A lot of people, what they do is they have a piece of property and they just want to go and cut and just put on a house, right? Now if you don't have the title, while you're getting the title done, you can ask them to do the topographic survey of the property and they can give it to you in soft copy. All right, ask them for the soft copy so that once your designer comes, architect, engineer, and those guys come, they can they can have that file available to them so that they can work with it, right? And you won't be in a position where they're going to ask you to do it again or to go and do it, right? Because you already have that, right? Javier, take advantage of the slope, so build with the land. And a lot of people ask me this one, right? Do I have ready-made plans, right? Ready-made plans. Ready-made plans actually cost you more in the long run, if you never know, right? So you have somebody has a design for a particular piece of property. You like that design and you know trying to fit it on your land. So that means if they had a flat land, you're now putting a building that is designed for a flat piece of land when you have a sloping land, right? You can't take advantage of the slope. So you're going to end up spending more on construction because you're now going to have to cut and level the entire area to then build. All right. So ready-made plans, it end up costing you more in my eyes, right? The other thing that you should have in place before you approach a designer is your tax certificate. The parish council is going to ask you for this. Whenever somebody come to me, I always ask them, do you have a tax certificate for the property? I'm not talking a tax receipt. Tax receipt is different from the tax certificate. The certificate is what you take to the council when you're doing your building submittal, right? So they're gonna ask you to do that, so that it tells that there are no taxes owing on the property, right? Now here's the last one. You must have a budget. I spoke about it earlier, so I want to make sure that I go back on it, right? I want to make sure that I go back on it. You must have a budget. Make sure you have a budget. Hear the rule again. Right? Make sure you have a budget for the ideal house that you want, because you don't want to overinvest. Do not overinvest in a particular area when you cannot get a return. On the flip side, you don't want to underinvest either, meaning you're doing bare minimum and the area has a certain value that you can possibly get, but you're not willing to invest in that area, so you won't be able to get the maximum return on your investment. So maybe, I'm not saying that you build big, large or excessive. What I'm saying is maybe you do the right things that will get you that value. So the designer will maybe design it a particular way, do the necessary landscaping, make sure that curb appeal is there, make sure that the orientation of the structure is, in a certain way, and make sure that the property feels a certain way so that you can get that return on your investment, right? So try that, and make sure that your budget drives your design. Make sure that the budget drives the design. Recently, I finished a bidding process, a tender process for somebody, right? Initially, we sat down, they came to me, we did the design and everything. And initially, in that consultation, I said to them, hey, based on what you want, this is the value that I think it will come out to be based on the calculators that I have, right? So the calculator on the website, we use that, we tie down a size, and we calculated how much that building will cost the person, right? She said, okay, all right, cool. We did the design, got the approval, went through all the process, and we are now in the pre-contract stage, right? Did the BQ and everything with the quantity surveyor, and at the end, we got the contractor to sign off on a value for that structure. Guess what it came back to be? The value that the contractor signed off on was probably $2,000 less than what the dollar value that I initially calculated based on the construction calculator, right? That's because we planned everything. Every aspect we went through everything that could have possibly caused a problem during the construction. We touched base on those. There was a lot of back and forth, but at least we're ironing out those things before we actually go into construction, which at the end of the day ended up with the client being happy. So it's important to do the necessary planning to have a budget that can actually work. All right. The last thing that I want to touch on is you must have the title for the property. If you don't have a title for your property, you must have a sales agreement, right? Once you come to your designer, architect, engineer, whoever it is, you must have a title or a sales agreement, and that sales agreement must be signed by a lawyer, right? Get a sales agreement done by a lawyer. Don't just go buy a piece of property from a man and him write on a piece of paper say he must sell it a piece of land here and he sign it and that's it. No. Get your lawyer involved, right? Have your lawyer draft up the contract between the both of you. Pay that little piece of money there just to have that peace of mind, because you don't want a situation where somebody that doesn't own the property come and sell you the property saying that it is theirs, right? If you don't, okay, so if you don't have the title, get a sales agreement done by a lawyer, right? The next thing is get the land in your name, man. Once you have the sales agreement done, go to the titles office and do the necessary process and get the land in your name. Do. I smash, big up yourself. Yeah, get the lawyer to transfer the title in your name. No? It don't make no sense to sit down on a sales agreement for years saying that yeah man, I might piece of land this, and you couldn't spend 50,000 or 100,000 to get a piece of property in your name when you don't spend so much money on it already, right? Get a lawyer to transfer the title into your name, right? And then plan for what will happen after you're gone. As you heard before, go back and watch the video. Those are some techniques that you can use to get the title in your name or have people on the title. I don't remember exactly what Miss Davis said, but when the video done, go back to the start of the video and watch that section of it. I think it was valuable information. If you think it's valuable information, just comment valuable in the comment section below. All right. Now this is the last part of this this video. I want to say this. Don't put your pastor on the title. don't put the pastor as the trustee for the title. a recent situation, it's trending now in Jamaica where a certain pastor have the people them on the title as me don't know how the pastor convinced them to put field name on for them land title and insurance policy and all of that. And I run scam and all kind of thing. So if them dead, then all of the estate go to the pastor and the pastor then disseminate it to the children. Guys, get the title in your name, and as the lawyer said, put your kids on it as what you call it? I smash. I know, right? Put your kids on it as joint tenants or whatever the term that Miss Davis used. Again, I'm not the best person to speak about that area, but overall, your contractor, your architect, your engineer, your designer has a lot to do with wealth creation because they're building your wealth with you or for you. Meaning, when you spend $100 on that building, that $100 multiply at the end of the day, if it is done properly, if it is well done, right? So don't expect to go spend $50 on a house. You want some nice tiles, porcelain tiles, and you go get what you call it, ceramic tiles instead, and still expect to get the same value as somebody who used the porcelain tile. It's not gonna happen. Stop. It's delusional, right? Start planning. Start investing in your property in the right way. I see a lot of times, a lot of people they want good, but they don't want to invest for that good. All right. And remember, don't put your past upon the property as trusted. Please do some planning. Do some planning. Sit down and do some proper planning. All right, guys. I've been here for almost an hour. I'm sure you guys want to go back and watch the first part of the video because I myself I'm going to watch it. So because I want to do some planning too. Guys, remember you can always reach out to me to get a consultation. Guys, please, when you call me and say, oh, I'm a member of the channel and I never see your comment yet, I never see you hit a share or anything like that, and then you're asking me to do work or to give you a consultation for free, it doesn't make sense. Remember, I come here and I give you this for free, right? I do this for free. I also am doing things in the background that does cost me, so maybe I am trying to organize the channel and I have to get help to do it, right? So when you call me to solicit my service, please understand that I'm going to charge you for it, right? I'm going to charge you for it. I'm going to school for it. I have to pay tuition and all of them something. That please do not call me to ask me, oh, I have a quick question for you. Book a consultation if you want to ask that quick question. That's how it goes. I'm sure you go to work and you work and you get paid for it, right? So when you want to put me to work, understand that I'm going to have to charge you for it, right? So if you call me to ask me how much a 3-bedroom house I got cost you, I'm gonna tell you to go consult a quantity surveyor. If you call me to ask me how for what I think about a property, I'm gonna tell you to go somewhere. You understand? But there are only certain key persons on the channel. If me notice say every time you comment, if me notice say you're there every single time, right? More always answer you, more always try and make sure some facilitate it. Because I realize say you're there from day one. So I'm not necessarily rigid, right? I try to help as much as possible. Like man like Byron Marshall, man like Nemshi, man like people like Gigi and them people, them can always call me and cause them there and them make sure I see them and them make sure them a comment, they make sure them a like, they make sure them a share, right? And them a getting other people to come watch the channel and things like that. If I'm seeing you, then obviously I'm gonna try and make sure that I facilitate you because you're supporting me and I want to support you as well. But don't expect something for absolutely nothing, because at the end of the day, I have to support myself and my family, and I'm sure you want to do the same. All right. I didn't mean to wait I say go off on a tangent, but I just wanted to make sure that I say that. Juliet R. I see a comment. Let's see. Good afternoon. Thanks so much for this valuable and priceless information. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Who else is here? I Smash for real. Guys, make sure you go check out I Smash channel. They have some good content over there. I Smash, big up yourself. Really appreciate the view. Let's see who else is here. What if the land is a square? You can get a title for it. What do you mean a square? Elaborate on that. As long as it is property, you can get a title. Who else there? I just check through the comments, guys. Chairs and benches. Alright, so here's another question. What if you're married but have children previously? You left the property and no will. Who gets the property? Are you a male or female? That's the question. Let's see. Shilmon Davis. So I'm assuming, well, female. If it is your property and not necessarily the husband, I would assume that it would go to your kids. But no, I think based on marriage laws, it would go to the husband, and then the husband's first child or something like that. I don't know. Talk to your lawyer. But I know that based on marriage laws, it would go to the husband. All right. Who else there? Big up yourself, yeah. Alright guys, so this is the end of this video. I really appreciate you chilling with me. Now I have, as I said, green planting, sausage and cabbage. It's cool now still because I'm there chat to you, but we just have to work with it, not true. Make sure you go to my other channel and like and subscribe as well. See you next week. Big up yourself, big up yourself, big up yourself. I'm out.